Here, in front of 2860 Buer Avenue in the Baychester section of the Bronx, 18-year-old Donna Laurie was sitting in a car with her friend, Jody Valenti, in front of Donna's house. 2 shots blasted through the car window. Donna was killed instantly.
All right, the 2 young girls returned home to their neighborhood at about 12:30 at night. They were saying goodnight to each other when they observed an unidentified male white, approximately 30 years old. He approached the 2 girls and attempted to engage them in a conversation, at which time the girls decided there was something wrong with this guy. They wanted to go into the house, and the man all of a sudden started firing.
Christine Froon, 26 years old, soon to be married, is dead today. Dead in a shooting that has no apparent motive.
Every night coming home from school, it was an easy passage for Virginia Ruskarecian. Leaving the subway 2 blocks back, she would come down here to Dartmouth Street, turn right, and would then have to walk approximately 2 blocks more to Essex, where she would turn left and into her door. But last night, she only got this far.
Early yesterday, the killer struck again, returning here to the Bronx 2 blocks from his first attack. 18-year-old Valentina Suriani and her steady boyfriend, 20-year-old Alexander Esau, were parked in his car on the Hutchinson River Parkway service road. At 3 a.m., 3 shots tore through the side window of the car. Valentina died, a bullet wound in the head. Alexander was hit twice in the head. He died at 9 o'clock last night.
I am the son of Sam, the note declared.
Two hours before dawn, Sunday morning, a young couple was sitting in this car on a quiet street in Queens.
Residents say they heard 4 shots ring out. Then Judy Placido left the car, which had been parked by that tree, and staggered up 211th Street.
What will you have for July 29th? He warned in one of his sick and threatening letters to the press and to the police. Sam's a thirsty lad, and he won't let me stop killing until he's had his full of blood. Well, early Sunday morning, just 2 days after the anniversary of his first cold-blooded murder, the man who calls himself the son of Sam kept his ghastly promise. A quiet street. 2 young people sitting in a parked car on Lover's Lane. Then without warning or motive, the sudden, brutal attack. 4 shots fired from the same .44 caliber revolver he's used before.
From New York's award-winning news station, this is the new Channel 11 Action News with Steve Bosch, Pat Harper, Jeff Kamen, Jerry Gerard Sports, and Roberto Tirano's AccuWeather reports.
Good evening. David Berkowitz, 24 years old, a postal worker, walked out of his Yonkers apartment last night, turned the ignition key in his car, and found himself surrounded by police. Well, he said, "You got me." Police say those words ended the biggest manhunt in New York City history with the capture of Son of Sam.
Where to do it? Well, Sam did it through me. He used me. He made me go out there and do it. I did it for him, for blood.
Police transported David Berkowitz from headquarters to Brooklyn Central Booking. After, my sources say, he confessed to being the .44 killer. After he told them he was a killing machine, ordered by a voice speaking through a neighbor's dog to carry out his bloody outrages against young, pretty women.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching on the planet. Welcome to episode 3 of The Life and Times of David Berkowitz. Joining me again today is Neo.
What's good, Rena?
You ready for part 3?
I am.
Well, quick recap. Our last video, we essentially went over everything starting to go wrong in David's life. You know, he's giving up slowly, sees the movie Taxi Driver, has a profound effect on him. He goes out the next day and gets the 44. He's getting mad at God. Everything's going wrong, isn't it?
Right. The God factor in this is the most important in this whole story. You know, the story told about him receiving orders from a dog, talking to a dog, telling him to kill. It was not the real story. The real story behind this is he gave up and was blaming God for all these things that happened to him, from being adopted, thrown away, down to here we are, him causing him to stab people. So, you know, the God factor in all this is a foundation and the reason why all these attacks happen. You know, all the bad coincidences he went through, him trying to escape all of them and gain peace, he really felt there was no escape, that God was after him in a sense, was not going to give him peace. So this was his way of striking back. You can see it here. Let me see if I can find it. There's a letter he wrote to Abrahamson that I want to talk about.
Well, they're always interesting.
Yeah, here he writes a letter to Abrahamson. And he talks about God in it.
Yeah, those Abrahamson letters are, I mean, without them.
Okay. Thus we have 6 dead and 7 wounded, as I raised my gun to their heads, aimed, and calmly executed them, their lives snuffed out and delivered back to God with return to sender stamped on their forehead. Let them return from where they came. Let them return unto their maker. Cold blood, a man with a heart of steel, incapable of compassion, is the only person who could have pulled that trigger. Ha ha, I got you back, God. I got my revenge. You took my mother from me, King of Kings, you Indian giver. Ha ha, got you back. Payback, payback. Ha ha. I waited so long for the payback. You're cruel. You hurt me. You took away the only ones I ever loved, and now I can love no more. I hate you. I hate you. So that's a letter he wrote to Abrahamson. You can see his hate towards God there. And as I told you, this was his revenge on God. This is the only way he could get back at God for the horrible life that he feels God gave him, and there was no escape. So it became a war with him and God.
Do you think he felt like God was punishing him?
I really felt, you know, after he learned about the demons at the Baptist church, like he felt like he was one of them, like he was supposed to be bad, being he was born out of sin also, and just all the stuff that was happening was so bad coincidences. He just couldn't get past the fact, how is all this going on? This has to be God not leaving me alone. Like when the dogs are barking, he's not thinking the dogs are barking. He's thinking that God is allowing those dogs to bark to bother him. You know, he really felt like God was not with him, but was against him.
Pure torment.
Yeah. And that will, you know, with the insomnia and everything he was going through, that'll cause him to talk to himself a lot, you know, and, you know, he really felt like God was not with him, but was against him. sitting there, why God? Well, why are you doing this to me? And those are, that's like a battle he's going through in his apartment, which he hates being in.
Yeah, it's like insomnia-induced psychosis, isn't it? You start to hear and see things that aren't there because you're...
The insomnia played a big part in this, yeah.
Yeah, those night shifts are a killer. Well, should we start the timeline, dude?
Yeah, go ahead.
On July 29th, 1976, at 1 a.m., Donna Lauria, 18 years of age, at 2860 Buer Avenue in the Pelham Bay section of the Bronx, was shot in the back and killed instantly as she sat in a parked car outside of her home with her friend Jody Valenti, 19 years of age, of 1918 Hutchinson River Parkway. Jody had just driven Donna home. Donna worked as an emergency medical technician for 2 years at the Empire State Ambulance Service with headquarters at New York Hospital. Donna and Jody were discussing summer vacation plans when the killer walked up to their car, looked directly at them, drew a pistol, and opened fire without saying a word. Jody, a nurse, was wounded in the left thigh as she sat in her double-parked car with Donna in the front of Donna's 6-story apartment building. Jody described the killer as a white male in his late 30s, wearing a blue striped shirt, and he had curly hair.
Right. So that's the account of what happened at his first shooting. And I just want to give you his confession to that, which he also gave to Dr. Abrahamson. I saw her and another girl sitting in a blue Oldsmobile Cutlass as I drove past. I parked about 2 very short blocks away on a side street. Coincidentally, there was a space available. I left my car, walking in the direction of their parked car. I saw both girls sitting there, apparently talking. I circled the car at a distance like an animal stalking his prey. Cautiously, I was watching for movement from other people in the street. However, there was none. Then, from behind and on the sidewalk, I approached the car, took my revolver out of a paper bag, and stopped parallel to their vehicle. I faced Donna, aimed my gun in the general direction, and fired all 5 rounds very rapidly. I saw the glass breaking into small slithers. The horn started sounding loudly, and I then ran full speed in the direction of my car. I stopped running within 50 feet of the car, then started walking briskly to it. I got in, then drove off. I aroused no attention. I didn't know I had killed her until I read the Post the following afternoon. The shooting took place about 1 a.m. I went straight home and went to bed. I got up early the next day to go to work at the cab company in the same neighborhood, Pelham Bay Park. I was at work promptly at 6:45 a.m. That day. I made out better than usual in both tips and fares. I made it my point to go to work so I wouldn't arouse any suspicion. But who would have suspected me anyhow? I didn't know the victims. So there he's telling Dr. Abrahamson the entire incident of him shooting Donna Lauria and Jody Valenti.
Who you see pictured there, Donna on the left, Jody on the right. It's a picture of the car they were sitting in. See the passenger window shattered. Picture of the street, the police van. Yeah, just kind of set the scene. So our next extract was David's confession, isn't it? The night he was arrested.
Right. That was his confession to Abrahamson a few years after his arrest. This is his confession to the police the night he was arrested.
And tell me about the event in your own words. I was just driving around and I passed their car. It was double parked by the building. Was there anyone... I was heading west on Buer Avenue and I just rounded. I knew I had to get them. Why? Those were my orders. I never saw them until moments before the shooting. I never saw them. Were their car lights on? I don't remember. Do you know what they were doing? Talking. Was there anyone near their cars, such as an old man or a woman? I saw nobody. What did you do? I parked my car around the corner in a spot. I got out the car with my gun and a bag. I walked up to the car through the street up on Buer Avenue, right to the car, and I stood by the curb, and they were seated there. As far as I know, Miss Loria didn't see me. That was a paper bag? Yes. And she sat there talking, and I pulled out the gun, and I put the bag in my left hand and fired the gun with my right hand through the window. Was the window up? Yes. Did the glass shatter? Yes, it did. How many times did you fire? 5 times. What kind of gun? The .44 Bulldog. And as you have already discussed it, I want to get it for this stenographer, Mr. Kitchen. Can you describe the gun itself? It's a short barrel, large caliber weapon. How many bullets in the gun? 5. How many did you fire? 5. Do you know who you struck first? At first, I didn't know I struck anybody because I remember Donna had just cupped her hands over her head and was sitting in the car. I didn't hear any sound, so I just emptied my gun in the car and saw the glass shatter. And the other girl, I believe, she screamed and blew the horn, and I stood there and emptied the gun, and I didn't know that I struck anybody. I thought she was holding her head because of the flying glass, and when the horn started to blow, I found myself pulling the trigger, and I had already ran out of bullets. What were you wearing at the time? I don't remember. Dungarees, probably. Do you have the same hair as you have? Did you have the same hair as you have now? Yes. You didn't have a wig? No. What did you intend to do when you pulled out the gun and fired it out the window where Donna Laurie was sitting? Just shoot them and shatter the window. Did you intend to kill them? Yes. Both? Yes. Do you know if you struck Jody Valenti? I don't know. I couldn't tell. Did you know either one or both of them before July 29, 1976? No, I did not. Did you have any connection with the area? No. Why did you pick that street, Buer Avenue, that night? But the hunting is good there. You were there before? I drove a cab there before. Now, did the horn of the car continually stay on, or did it stop at some point? It stayed on. What did you do then? I turned around and ran to my car and drove off. To where? Right home to Yonkers. So there you have him confessing.
Right. And remember, he's taking revenge on God, and he's using women as his target because women he feels, did wrong to him too in his life, as you see his mother threw him away. And the stepmother, the girlfriend, and just women in general. So it's his revenge on God, and he's choosing women as his target. He's not after men at this point.
In August of 1976, a complaint was made that Joe Keem, the owner of 18 Wicker Street, was killing everyone in the house. Officers responded and searched the house for dead bodies to no avail. The owner of 18 Wicker Street, Joaquim Neto, knew nothing of what the police were talking about, nor who called them. The complaint was made by an anonymous telephone call. I've just got a quick statement from an article. The cops came banging on the door at about 1 a.m, says Maria Neto. We didn't know what had happened. There were no bodies, of course. Berkowitz said after his arrest that he had called the Yonkers police, presumably anonymously, to tell them that Joaquim is tormenting me, most likely a reference to Joaquim Neto. So he's pranking them already, isn't he?
Right, but it's not Joaquim Neto he's after. It's Joaquim Goncalo. And you see right there, he just says Joaquim. So again, I'm pointing out to you that it's Joaquin Goncalo he's after because that's what's in the phone book as who's living there. So the Nettos own the house, and when the cops do come there, they're just saying Joaquin because that's what they're told is a complaint, and Joaquin Netto lives downstairs, so he's being directed to the complaint, which, again, it wasn't even meant to bother the Nettos. And you see Sam hasn't come into the picture yet. The whole son of Sam thing hasn't come into the picture yet. Sam is not his target here at Wicker. It's Joaquin Goncalo because that's who he has in the phone book is living there. And, this was very bad. Berkowitz admitted to doing it, as you could see there. And I think he entertained himself, hoping that maybe the cops would fire because they went to the house with all the guns drawn. And luckily, Joaquin didn't do anything wrong when he answered the door because they could have easily shot him. They went in and started looking around. And remind you, if it was a different name, they didn't have the same name, they would have went to the guy upstairs. The Nettos wouldn't have got bothered. But here you see again, the Nettos were being bothered, and it wasn't even then that Berkowitz was after.
It could have been very, very bad.
Yeah, that could have been very, very bad. Sylvia said he was a hunter too. So they were being harassed, and he didn't know what was going on. 1 o'clock in the morning, he's getting woken up and all, if he would have grabbed his shotgun and answered the door for protection, who knows what would have happened.
In September of 1976, Berkowitz began working for the Wolf and Murrian Sheet Metal Company in Elmsford, New York. In September 17, 1976, at 2:40 a.m., David Berkowitz was issued a summons in Pine Street for parking at a no parking zone. And there's a picture of that parking ticket.
Yeah, parking was hard around there. There's not many parking spots, especially if he's coming home at like 2:40 a.m. like it says. So he probably didn't care and just parked his car wherever to go inside.
Yeah, he had a few parking tickets, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've read that. In October of 1976, Berkowitz began to carpool to work with Richie Speranza.
Yeah, you see him going to work at that place in September. And that's where I think he was paired up again with Richie, so they started carpooling to and from work.
On October 4th, 1976, Berkowitz paid for the summons for no parking that was issued on September 17th, 1976.
That's 2 weeks later, he pays that ticket.
On October 9th, 1976, a Molotov cocktail was thrown through the window of Sam Carr's house at 316 Warburton Avenue in Yonkers at 4:15 a.m. The Molotov cocktail landed in a small office of his telephone answering service, which Sam Carr extinguished with a fire extinguisher. Firefighters responded and the damage was minimal. Police officers Berletic and Mazzella, as well as detectives Thomas Duggan and Andy Cavallo, investigated the arson. And we've got a police report here, haven't we?
Yeah, this is now the cars are starting to be his target. I would say Harvey's starting to bother him here. He's now shifting right here from Joaquin Goncalo to the Carr's house. This is his first attack to the cars in this manner. I talked to Wheat, and I'm pretty sure before this, he was calling the answering service. They had a few listings in the phone book. That's where he found John Wheat. That's the first line that he called and started harassing them on. And there was other lines there that he was calling, harassing them too. So it was before this, and yeah, but this is the first time he does anything menacing to the cars.
October 9th, 1976, a sign sent by Headquarters Command to redacted relative to a fire which was caused by apparent firebomb. Upon arrival, the assigned spoke to Samuel Carr, white male, redacted years, of 316 Warburton Avenue, who stated that he operates the Carr's telephone answering service at 316 Warburton Avenue. And he stated that at approximately 4:15 a.m. this day, he was sitting at the switchboards located at the first floor when he heard a crash. He then went into a smaller office, which is located at the front of the house, and found a fire burning in said room. By the use of a fire extinguisher, he extinguished the blaze and notified the fire department, who responded. Firemen, under the direction of Assistant Chief Pompoloni, responded to the scene. Chief Pompoloni stated that fire was apparently caused by a Molotov cocktail which was thrown through the window of the house, landing on the desk in the office, which exploded and caused a fire, leaving minimal damage. Said house is a two-story frame house set back from Warburton Avenue, approximately 100 feet. First floor of said house is used for the answering service, offices and switchboard area, kitchen, and two other small rooms upstairs. Second floor is used by Mr. Carr, his wife, and his son for living quarters. At this time of the incident, Mr. Carr was sitting at the switchboard and his wife and son were asleep on the second floor. Investigation revealed that the persons unknown apparently walked to the house tossing a Molotov cocktail through a window located on the northwest corner, which landed on a desk in a small office located in the front room of the house. A search of the outside revealed no physical evidence at this time. Inside, the assigned found a small rag apparently used as a wick and fragments of a quart bottle which apparently had been filled with a flammable liquid. Bottle fragments and wick taken into evidence by the assigned. The assigned questioned Mr. Carr further, who stated that he did not see or hear anyone at the time of the incident. He only heard the crash and what sounded to him like a large puff. Further, Mr. Carr stated he had no problems of any union, and at this time he employs approximately 8 persons who answers telephones for him and has had no problems with any of them. Mr. Carr stated he could not think of no valid reason for anyone to direct this towards him or his business. Captain Fitzpatrick of the Arson Investigation Unit, Yonkers Fire Department, responded to the scene and to conduct a further investigation by his office. So, yeah.
Right. He did this to 18 Wicker because of the dog bothering him. Now he's doing this to 316 Warburton because of the dog bothering him. There's no other reason he's trying to light these houses on fire. He does not know these people. These people do not know him. He has problems, and he's taking it out on them.
On October 23rd, 1976, Carl Denaro, 20 years of age, was shot in the back of the head at about 2 a.m. as he sat in a parked car with his girlfriend, Rosemary Keenan, on 159th Street and 33rd Avenue in Flushing, Queens. Rosemary was also injured during the attack. Carl had shoulder-length brown hair, and in the dark, he might have been mistaken for a female. Carl was hospitalized for 3 weeks at the Flushing Medical Center, where steel was placed in his skull. The injury disqualified him for service in the United States Air Force, which he had been about to enter.
Yeah, Berkowitz did this attack, and neither of them seen anything. In the last one, the first attack, you had a witness. You see her statements. There was no witness. There was no statements given about anybody seeing anything here. The window just shattered. They heard the sound, from what I gathered the information with this, and they didn't see anybody. So this was a little bit different as far as getting a witness account. But here is Berkowitz again writing to Abrahamson a few years after the arrest. The second job was the Denaro Keenan one. Both of them were sitting in a red Volkswagen and making out. This was my second murder attempt with my .44. I had approached from the rear of the car, walked up to the passenger side window and opened fire. I was more frightened than they were. Only one bullet struck the young man, and he really wasn't the intended target. I had fired with one hand and wildly. Boy, did I mess up. But really, I was very nervous. After the shooting, I ran to my car and drove off quietly to a White Castle on Northern Boulevard. And you see here, he was shooting the gun with one hand, and it was probably going up as he's shooting because the kickback on that. He wasn't well trained with the weapon yet to hold it with two hands with the stance.
Well, there's a picture there of Carl on the left, Rosemary on the right. Picture of the Volkswagen. Yet again, David targeting the passenger side, which he did in all 6 of the car attacks. So yeah, it's Carl's car. Rosemary's car, I should say. We've got our next extract is David's confession, where he talks about Carl's attack in detail. Now, David, I want to speak to you first about an incident that occurred in the Flushing area in Queens County. Are you familiar with this particular incident? Yes, I am. Was that before or after the shooting in the Bronx? After. After? Yes. And more specifically, 159th Street and 33rd Avenue in Flushing, Queens. Yes. On October 23rd, 1976? Yes. As Mr. Quinn indicated when you spoke to him, if there's anything that I can say to you that is not correct, you tell me, okay? Yes. Now tell me what time this incident occurred. 2 or 3:30 a.m. And where did you come from to get there? I was just driving around. And what type of car? A 1970 Ford Galaxy. What color? Yellow car, black roof. Now, when you were driving around, tell us, what did you do that night? What you did that night? I just drove around. Before that, I don't remember nothing significant happening. I just drove up the street and saw them in the car. Who? That would be Mr. Denaro and Miss Keenan. Now, at that time, did you know their names? No. When you first saw them, were you behind them or in front of them? Behind. At this particular time, did you know whether it was 2 girls or a man or what? I thought it was a girl and a man. And were they sitting in the car? I don't know. I just saw it was just dark. I saw figures in the car. How did you approach the car? I pulled around the corner and parked my car and got out and just walked up behind the car. And which side of the car did you approach? The passenger side. And tell us what you did. I pulled out the .44 and opened fire. How many shots did you fire? 5. How many hands did you use? 1 hand. And can you tell us what position you took at that time? I stood up upright. I just emptied the gun in the car. Now, was the window into which you fired the gun open or closed? All the windows were closed. Did the glass break when you fired into the car? Yes. Did you later learn that you hit someone? Yes. Do you recall the make, model, or color of the car? A red Volkswagen. And how long were you at that location? Just a couple of minutes, as long as it takes to park a car, shoot the people, and leave. And what kind of gun did you use? The .44. Where did you get that weapon? In Houston, Texas. And when did you buy it in Houston, Texas? June or May of 1976. And did you go down there? Yes. By car or by airplane? Car. And you used the same car that you just described for us? Yes. Did you also purchase any ammunition? Yes. What type? .44 revolver ammunition. How many rounds did you purchase? 100. And the weapon was what type? Charter Arms .44 Bulldog. And when you went to the area in Queens on October 3rd, 23rd, 1976, did you know either of the 2 people? No. And what was your intent in going there? To kill them. Did you intend to kill both the passenger and the driver? Just the woman. I thought she was in the front seat passenger side. It was very dark. Can you describe the hair of the people in the car? It was like blondish. That was on the passenger side? Yes. So you've got David here essentially. He thought Carl was a woman, didn't he?
Right. You see here his target was women and his intent was not to shoot the male. That's why he was basically going to the passenger side on a lot of these attacks. because he figured the woman would be in the passenger side.
Yeah, it just so happened Carl was sitting in the passenger seat.
Yeah, and I remind you that you see these accounts from the police. I don't see Berkowitz ever lying to law enforcement. So he's confessing right here that he did it. And the Abrahamson stuff that I show you was a little bit after his arrest. And I think it was a time in his life he was ready to open up and tell the truth about himself to someone. So I feel he did that to Abrahamson. So that's why I tend to show you his confessions. And this shooting with Carl, was messed up in the beginning to him. Not only did he get shot, but they were treating him like a suspect. Because remember, they didn't know what was going on here. So everybody had to get questioned in this as if they had something to do with it. And that's what they were doing to Carl. They were including him of possibly having something to do with this. I don't think they thought he had something to do with this, but they just had to leave that open because they didn't know what happened. And it wasn't until they caught on to David Berkowitz that they included him as a victim in all this. And then he started getting treated right. So, he had to go through that also after he got shot. And, that wasn't right. But again, when you look at the situation, what do you want the cops to do in a sense? But again, I don't think they thought he had anything to do with it, but they were questioning him as if he might have something what was going on in his life that caused the car to get attacked. They didn't know what was going on. They had no answers for what happened.
Well, I think we'll leave it there, Neo. I think
Yeah,
we've gone over
good
everything.
idea. Yep.
We'll be back with episode 4. Thank you as always.
Be good.